So if you're new to Azure Data Engineering, you'll have a few questions about the tooling. Specifically, you'll have heard of Data Factory, Synapse, Databricks, and you'll be thinking, what are they? When do I use them? Do I use them together? Who knows, right? Well, in today's video, we're going to break them down. We're going to break down the what, the key capabilities, the pros, the cons, when you would use them. And then after we've covered them all, we'll talk about, well, when would you use them individually? When would you use them together? And when would you use all three at once? Now you'll also see here that I do have Fabric on the screen, Microsoft Fabric, which when you're talking about the Azure slash Microsoft data engineering platform and space, Fabric comes out the conversation. But that's for another video. If you want to see it, drop it in the comments below. So let's get started. Azure Data Factory. Oh, and also this graphic. First link in the description. Azure Data Factory. What is it? Well, it's a lightweight orchestration tool for pipelining. What does this mean? So a pipeline in this context is for moving and transforming. It's for ETL slash ELT, which means extract, transform, load, or extract, load, transform. Extract, get the data. Transform, change the data. Load, put it somewhere else. And so I'll show you here a screenshot from a recent Azure Data Engineering tutorial that I'd done. This here is Data Factory in a nutshell, pretty much. We have a pipeline. Now, this here is the pipeline. A pipeline just gets data from somewhere, does stuff, and puts it somewhere else. It's made up of activities. Activities here on the screen you can see are notebook activities. Doesn't have to be notebook, it could be anything. It could be getting the data from somewhere, blah, blah, blah. So a notebook here specifically is Databricks notebooks, which we'll talk about when we get to Databricks. But what a notebook is a place for code. So here, there's some code running. After that, there's an arrow, goes to here, more code running, arrow, more code. Now this is a pipeline, and it orchestrates these three activities in this order. So what are the key capabilities here? Well, drag and drop workflows, because if you could tell from this, on this side here, we have the activities. Now you just grab that and you drag and drop it here. No code needed. You just drag and drop it. Next, multiple connectors. So from here, some of the activities here you can see are like move and transform. Within there, you can select SaaS application, an on-prem SQL database, an API, an Azure service, and you can connect them together. You can get data from all of these sources and pull them together. Now, once you've pulled them together, you want to transform that data. Now, you can do that through either mapping data flows, which actually uses Spark under the hood. So first I'll tell you what is a data flow. So here's an example. Essentially, just think of it as basic SQL transformations. A SQL transformation is a transformation you would do using SQL, structured query language. For example, you can join different tables together. You can select portions of tables, so different columns, for example. Now, we can either do that, which uses Spark under the hood. Spark, essentially, think of it like it runs these SQL queries, but for massive data processing, right? You can either use that, or you can use external services. So you could use batch, Databricks functions. So think of this here now as you're using code. This here is like your basic SQL. This here is external code that you can bring in. So a pro of Data Factory, it's actually really simple. If you follow my tutorial, you'll see like literally if you just follow the Data Factory part of the tutorial, the Azure Data Engineering tutorial, you'll see it takes like 15 minutes and you have a pipeline, right? Because of this, it's cheap, it's just lightweight, there's not much to it, it just does some orchestration. It's also broad, it does a lot of stuff. As you can see from the activities here, you can do a lot of things from it. So really good platform. But what are the cons? Well, there's no native notebook. So I was talking about notebook as this place for code. As you've just seen, I have to use kind of pre-built SQL queries or transformations, or I have to get external notebooks or code in. So I can't just write my own code within Data Factory. So I have to pair it with something else if I'm going to use notebooks. There's limited in-tool data processing, so if it doesn't give me it, there's no customization. So I can only use what it gives me. And because of that, again, it's got basic analytics. So it doesn't offer integrated analytics or SQL capabilities like Synapse. So if I wanted to do a big advanced SQL query, can't do it. I'd have to use something else like Synapse. So when would you use this? Well, you probably get the gist now, but it doesn't have storage, doesn't have compute, doesn't have notebooks. Just think of it like that. All it is for pipelines, orchestration, and here you see it's lightweight. So nice, easy, simple orchestration platform. Next, Synapse Analytics. As kind of goes by the name, you can see here all-in-one PCs. It's an end-to-end analytics platform. This was the only picture I could find that was all-in-one. But think of it as an all-in-one platform for your analytics needs. Now here is an example of it. You can see actually it's pretty similar to Data Factory, which we'll get to in a moment. But here is the interface. As you can see, we have a data place. We have develop. Place is not the right terminology, but you get what I'm saying. A place for your data, a place for you to develop, a place for you to integrate, i.e. pipelines, and then monitor, right? Here is an example of writing your own custom query, which you can't do in Data Factory. So, what are the key components or capabilities here? Well, it has pipelines. It essentially has Data Factory within it, which is cool. Now, it's Data Factory plus the ability for analytics. How does it do that? Well, it has native notebooks, my little notebooks here, but it also has pools, Spark pools and SQL pools. What does that mean? Look, well, a pool is essentially a group of machines. Now, why do we need these machines in a group? Because when you run a custom SQL query or Spark query, you will need an arbitrary amount of resources. Now, to handle this, they use pools. The reason is because when data that's getting processed, when it requires so much processing power, it's much more efficient to have it on processing a little bit on a bunch of machines rather than all of it on one machine. If you think it takes your computer 60 minutes to process something, if that can be partitioned such that it's in 60 sections which all require to be processed, that could take 1 minute on 60 machines. So you can see the power. And so it uses these pools for Spark. So if you're doing some PySpark transformations, it will use Spark pools. But if you're using SQL, it will use the SQL pools. And I've a little bit of extra information here. They can also be serverless or, I've spelled it wrong, but dedicated. Let's change that. There you go. Serverless, meaning that Azure will automatically decide how much you actually need. Whereas dedicated is you get to decide, I reckon it will need this much. Now, if you're wrong, then tough. So, you know, you have that responsibility. So what are the pros here? Well, it's unified. It's an all-in-one place for your analytics needs. It has serverless SQL, so the ability to run SQL queries serverlessly. You don't have to decide how much resources am I going to allocate to this. Just let Azure decide it for you just to run your query. Obviously, be wary of serverless stuff because they can just poof out of control if you do something wrong. And then data warehousing capabilities. So what is a data warehouse? Well, you have, for say, a data engineering pipeline, data from a bunch of sources, from internal systems, from applications, or from just other sources like the internet. Now, they'll come through a pipeline, say like an ETL pipeline, extract, so it goes and gets the data. Transform, so it'll clean the data, make sure all the data is looking good, quality is good, and it'll load it somewhere else. Now, the data warehouse is a place for the structured and semi-structured data, meaning that the data will be more efficient to query rather than say if it was unstructured data. Now, this data warehouse, which is like when you load your data into Synapse, it loads the data, can then be queried against for business intelligence, for data science, which then influences decision making. That sounds good, but what are the cons here? Well, it's complex to use, or it can be complex to use because of how much is in it. It's an all-in-one platform. It can be complex. And because of that, it can be difficult to manage costs. So if you have a really simple pipeline and it doesn't really do much, just use Azure Data Factory. Use this here. This is my representation of a simple pipeline for Data Factory. That same simple pipeline, it may get out of control if you try and do it in Synapse. So when would you use it? When you want that all-in-one data analytics platform. feel like I'm saying I'm at a conference saying, say it with me. I'm not trying to sell you Synapse. That's always think of that all in one data platform. And for when you're going to use a combination of SQL and Spark. Now, why would you use either or? You've probably been wondering. Well, SQL is for simplicity, Spark is for scale. Finally, Azure Databricks. So, what is Databricks? It is essentially a notebooks platform, although it is more, but it's essentially a notebooks platform for Apache Spark, because Spark is the distributed compute for like SQL queries. Think of it like that. So it's for advanced analytics and for data science on Spark. Here's an example of notebooks, which I'll keep alluding to. This is what it looks like, because I know I'm one for I hate when people explain things to me. Just show me. This is what it looks like. As you can see here, it's just a notebook with little chunks for your code, and this is just some code. And this again is a screenshot from a recent tutorial that I've done, Azure Data Engineering 1. Now, in my Azure Data Engineering tutorial, just for reference, it is an end-to-end tutorial where we use all of these services so that you can get a bit of familiarity. It's not necessary for the data transformation we're doing, but it's just so you're familiar with the different tooling. Now, as you can see here, it's much more on the left than just notebooks, because you can define your compute. There's catalog, so Unity catalog, where you can define security measures. You can then, within data engineering, you can check your job runs, you can create workflows of different notebooks, etc., etc. And there's a whole part for machine learning as well, SQL data engineering. So, what are the key capabilities? Well, I've kind of already told you, but notebook collaboration. So, as you can see here on my little picture, a couple of guys using the notebooks. So, it means that you can work as a team on notebooks. There's native integration with machine learning libraries. As you've seen here, machine learning plays a massive part. Some of the founders of Databricks were from ML Flow, I believe, and so it has that background, right? So it's a native integration with machine learning libraries, for example, your Python ones like TensorFlow and stuff. So we also have the Delta Lake, which is a transactional data lake layer for ACID and time travel. But what does that mean? Well, you have an existing data lake, right, with all your storage. But for you to interact with that, there are a bunch of problems. Acidity is not guaranteed. There's a cat on the desk. Acidity is not guaranteed. Your schema for your database may change over time, which won't be handled well. Versioning, again, you have to worry about handling versions, and querying can be really slow. So, to solve these problems, we have Delta Lake, and that's what you interact with instead of directly to your data lake. Now, additionally, for all this processing, you're going to need clusters, right? And these clusters within Databricks can be auto-scaled. Now, auto-scaling, I've used a graphic here from AWS. I know we normally cover Azure on the channel, but this graphic was much better than Azure's one. Well, within auto-scaling, essentially, you'll have like a minimum size, a maximum size, and a desired size, and it will scale between the min and max to ensure that it's using the correct amount of resources. So, as for pros, it's optimized for Spark, it facilitates collaboration, and it's perfect for that machine learning ecosystem. Everything comes with cons though. So, what are the cons? Well, we'll start from the bottom up. The learning curve for non Spark users can be quite large. If you don't know anything about Spark, distributed compute, it can be quite a learning curve. Additionally, it can be costly. Like in my last tutorial, you can use your free Azure account, but I just use my normal one. And within that, it actually cost me like 98 cents for Databricks and 2 cents for everything else. Now, for orchestration, there is a native orchestration within Databricks, which is this Databricks workflows. But if you're wanting to use external services, etc., you're really going to have to use Data Factory and or Synapse to orchestrate these notebooks, for example, in the first one. So when would you use it? Well, it's when you're using data science and machine learning workloads because of the distributed compute. For when you're wanting that collaborative notebook-based environment, and when you're comfortable with using Spark. So that's Data Factory, Synapse, and Databricks. Now, when would you use them? So we've covered the first three, which is essentially Data Factory, moving data, say, from an on-prem SQL to an Azure Blob Storage with just some basic transformations. Synapse would be for, say, querying massive data sets for BI reports with SQL from a data warehouse. Databricks would, say, be training a machine learning model on terabytes of unstructured data using Spark. So that's the three. If we were to then use them in combination, so say Data Factory and Synapse, that would be to build an ETL pipeline to load raw data into Synapse and then query it. Data Factory and Databricks would be orchestrating a pipeline in ADF that triggers Databricks to process and clean, say, IoT data, so unstructured data. Synapse and Databricks would be transforming large datasets in Databricks, then loading the results into Synapse for that ad hoc analytics, so using Spark or SQL pools. And for all three of them, it would be, say, to move data using ADF, using Databricks to clean and transform it, and then Synapse to store it and analyze it. And so there you have it. That is Data Factory versus Synapse versus Databricks. If you enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you have any questions or future videos, or you want to know a little bit more about Fabric, do leave a comment below and make sure to check out the Azure Data Engineering tutorial as well. Till next time, take care.